Hello, you guys. Welcome to Vitacine, where you take control of your own health. And today I want to talk to you guys about the power of long-term breastfeeding. And more specifically, I want to introduce you to Olu Adeleke. And
Hi, everyone.
She gets involved in long-term breastfeeding, okay? And that's the reason why I brought her onto the show. When I talk about long-term breastfeeding, I'm talking about breastfeeding for longer than 18 months or more, okay? And, when you guys hear about breastfeeding kids for more than 18 months or 2 years, I don't want you all to freak out, okay? Because, they've been doing this for the last 2,000 years, okay? Breastfeeding kids for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. And, it's not uncommon in Bangladesh, India to breastfeed your kids until like 4 years or 5 years. Okay, so that's why I brought her onto the show to talk about this. And thank you for carving time out of your busy schedule. She has 3 kids she has to take care of, and she has a 5-month-old.
Yes, it's fine.
How old is your other 2 kids?
Gabrielle is 3 and Janelle is 4.
And Janelle is 4.
Yes.
And all of them are breastfed for different amounts, but they're all breastfed, and she's currently breastfeeding her newborn currently. So basically, let's start off by talking about how long you breastfed each of the kids.
Okay. So for Janelle, I pretty much went 7 months.
Okay.
And the reason being, I had no choice but to stop because I got pregnant with the second baby, Gabrielle.
Okay.
So the doctor advised I stop,
So basically you had them back to back.
Yes.
Okay.
They're pretty much 15 months apart.
Okay.
Yes, and then for Gabrielle, I breastfed her for almost 2 years.
Okay.
And all exclusive. She never had formula.
Okay.
Yeah. And then for Ronell, who's the baby now, the plan is to breastfeed him for about 2 years as well.
Okay, that's awesome. So I guess, in today's society, we think that, breastfeeding for 4 months is awesome. You're doing a good job if you're breastfeeding up to 4 months. Breastfeeding to up to 6 months is like, man, you're like a rock star. You know what I'm saying? But when you're going to like a year or more, you know what I'm saying? People are like, you just must have a lot of time on your hands, or you just must be, stay-at-home mom, because it's a lot of work. You tell me, is it a lot of work to breastfeed?
Yes, it is. It's a lot of work as a working mother.
Okay, so she works.
Yes. So as a working mother, it's a lot of work, but you don't think of the work. You just do what you need to do for your children, because of course, with breastfeeding, there's a lot of benefits in breastfeeding. It helps. It helps with their immune system. If I can take care of them very well now while they're young and they're still babies, then of course in the future, I wouldn't have to deal with, running around and, the children being sick and all of that.
Okay.
So yes, it does take work because I also pump.
Okay.
So at work, thankfully, I'm able to pump a couple of times at work.
Okay. So
that is what I'm able to give the babysitter when I go to work.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So when you do pump, is your job well, first, let me ask you, what do you do for a living?
At this time, I'm an office manager, so practice manager.
And then I'm assuming that's pretty demanding, or are they accommodating to your needs?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
The doctor, which I work for, she's awesome. She's very accommodating.
Okay. Yes. So that helps out. That helps out a lot too.
Yes.
So basically, it's, things are busy with you. Things are busy with your husband. Does your husband help out?
Yes, he helps out a lot. He encourages me. So
yeah, do you help out with the family when she's breastfeeding and taking care of all of that? Okay, so it does help that your husband is supportive.
Oh yes.
Because I'm gonna tell you guys, there's a lot of husbands that are not supportive. They're actually quite selfish, and we'll talk about that later on. But basically, women started joining the workforce back in the 1950s. Okay, this was like after the World War II, the men were all fighting, you know what I'm saying? So some of them died. Some are still, still in the service. So who had to take over was the women. Yeah. So the women had to take over. They had to find jobs and everything like that. And so they found jobs. But now they don't have time to breastfeed. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't have time to breastfeed. So what happened they had to basically come up a way to breastfeed their kids. Now, basically, work nurses, they have something called wet nurses.
Oh,
okay.
What's that?
So basically, what you hear the kids in the background. That's the life of a mom, because we're gonna have a lot of kids in the background and everything like that. I'm probably gonna introduce you to them and everything like that. But that's what happens when you have breastfed kids. They're vibrant and they're
full of energy.
They're looking for Easter eggs. But yeah, wet nurses. Wet nurses are basically surrogate lactating women who are available to feed other children. So it's not the mom to feed, the mom doesn't feed the children. It's another person that feeds the children.
Oh, wow.
And wet nurses have been around for more than about 2,000 years. But they're expensive. They're like having nannies. You know what I'm saying? I don't have a nanny just because I want to save my money. And the same thing with wet nurses. So it's more of a luxury than anything else. And there's women who cannot breastfeed their kids, you know what I'm saying? And they can't afford a wet nurse. And so that's when they turn to formula. That's when the formula industry started. And let me ask you, why don't you choose the easier route? How come you just, you're a working mom, your husband works, you know what I'm saying? Your time is demanding. You have 3 kids, 2 of them are back to back. And then you have you had your first boys. And what I know, boys, they're like really demanding. You know what I'm saying? Especially when they come, they don't mess with the breast milk. You know what I'm saying?
No, they don't.
My son doesn't mess with the breast milk. It's like the creamy crack to him. All he wants is breast milk. So why don't you just give him Infamil or Similac or something like that? Just to kind of, or supplement with it, or give it, together to help with the breastfeeding.
Mm-hmm. Well, my reason, just like I touched on a little bit, is because I know the benefits of breastfeeding.
Okay.
Because I know that it's very good for their body, and I know that it, helps with their immune system in regards to the kids not being, easily infected with bacteria and like viruses.
Okay.
So all those things that people will, kids will be around each other and be able to easily transfer to each other.
Okay.
We've been so blessed that the kids are not. That doesn't happen with them.
So that's another thing I want to ask. Are they totally healthy? Have they had? They're gonna get sick, obviously, but they might come over their sickness faster than other kids.
Yeah, that's what I was actually gonna say. With Ronell, I know sometimes you get a cough, when it's exposed sometimes to a lot of cold, and with the weather being funny, sometimes you're not sure what to wear.
Exactly.
For the kids.
Right.
But he gets off it much faster.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Any like ear infections? Do they have asthma, eczema, seasonal allergies? Some of these like, things that you would expect from a non-breastfed kid.
No. Okay. No asthma, no allergies that I know of.
Okay.
Yeah, none of that.
How many trips to the ER have you had?
To the ER, none.
None? Oh wow, that's pretty awesome.
I'm
that's
looking like, why should we go to
I'm
the
like
ER?
Trips to the ER. That's like a normal thing from being a parent, but that's awesome if you haven't had a trip to the ER.
No, actually, none.
Okay. Well, but the thing about breastfeeding. Well, first tell me now, is that your choice? Or is it something that's been in your family? Or is it, because I know you're Nigerian in mine, is this a cultural thing?
Well, I'm not so sure it's cultural, because I would say something that the old wild, everyone does. All mothers should do it.
Other than Americans, right?
I think there are actually some Americans.
There are. It's just, and we'll talk about it soon. But this is almost like a backlash against breastfeeding that I've seen. With now breastfeeding is not uncommon. Like I told you, in Bangladesh, Africa, they'll feed their kids until like they're 4 or 5. And actually wet nursing began as early as in 2000 BC. Okay. In the Roman Empire, the Roman Empire mandated that, orphans, like the people who kind of got rid of their kids, threw them on the streets, the Roman Empire, the Roman government had to take these kids, and these kids had to be breastfed by wet nurses until the age of 3. And then after that, they go on to, eat other food. But this was just kind of like part of the practice. So they've been doing this for the last, 4,000 years and probably beyond that. Even back in early Europe, the aristocrats, the well, the higher echelon of society, they were able to have wet nurses, and they had wet nurses feed their kids, you know what I'm saying? So they didn't have to, breastfeed or mess up their figure, and they can be able to go to little galas and stuff like that, and they didn't have to worry about breastfeeding their kids. And they typically breastfed their kids till 2 or 3. And also back in the slavery days, okay, slave masters and wise slave masters had their house slaves breastfeed their kids. This was also a common practice back in the day. And again, breastfed them until 2, 3 years old and beyond. So breastfeeding is important, and wet nurses have been around for a long time. So it's nothing that's like that. I mean, it sounds weird, but they've been doing it for thousands of years. I mean, we drink from cows, so come on, it can't be that crazy. And they do have banks now. They have breast milk banks.
Okay. Yes.
They do have breast milk banks now, so you can actually go to a breast milk bank for somebody who's not able to breastfeed. Unfortunately, they do pasteurize it, which kind of defeats the purpose because you destroy all those good enzymes and the oils and everything like that. But it's a start. It's out there. So that's kind of like the history of kind of like the whole wet nursing. Wet nursing is there. Wet nursing kind of went away because of the formula. Okay, when the formula industry came into play, they're like, well, you know what? Let's see if we can try to come up with a formula where, that's just like breast milk or even better than breast milk. You know what I'm saying? So they try to replicate breast milk. Okay. And they basically marketed it as better than breast milk. And this is what they kind of fed their kids and everything like that. But the whole thing is, they couldn't, there's a lot of things in breast milk that you can't replicate. There's like 100 components. Even today, research shows there's 100 components in breast milk that you cannot replicate. You just can't.
I agree.
Immunoglobulins. I'm talking about, these are antibodies that are in there. There's growth factors. These are like actual like cytokines, growth factors, all kinds of things that you cannot replicate in breast milk. There's fats in breast milk that you cannot replicate. You can't you can't put the fat and then you have powder and it just doesn't, you know what I'm saying? So that's another thing that's also important. They try to basically, the stuff that they can't, replicate, they'll put in starch, they'll put in sugar, wheat, ingredients from GMO. I don't know if you know what GMOs are. They're called genetically modified organisms. So basically, these components are genetically modified by man, and you're putting them inside yourself. Something that the DNA has been tampered with. Okay,
does not sound good.
Doesn't sound good at all. You know what I'm saying? I just, there's some things I don't trust man with, and there's definitely some things that even doctors don't know. So it's just something to kind of think about. Yeah. And even today, like you risk, even like feeding a baby cow's milk before the age of 6 months, you know what I'm saying, they're at risk of getting certain conditions like I told you, eczema, asthma, seasonal allergies, even diabetes type 1.
Yes,
you can also get that. So that's why you want to feed your kid exclusively breast milk up until the age of 6 months. Some people, they feed them to like 4 months. They start them on Gerber and already the thing about it is their guts are not ready for all of that yet. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Their guts are still immature, and they don't fully become immature by the time of 6 months. Okay, and there's something in the breast milk called colostrum. Do you know what colostrum is?
Oh yes, I know that's like the first milk that you have
that comes out in the first few days, and it has a golden color, and that golden color, it's basically saturated with everything the child needs to basically get their gut prepared for what's to come, because their gut is still immature when they come out. You know what I'm saying? And once that colostrum hits the gut, you're supplying that gut with good bacteria. You're supplying that gut with good enzymes and all kinds of immune factors and everything that the baby needs. I mean, athletes take
and
this
I think
stuff too.
And the colostrum is the immunoglobulin thing that you
exactly
mentioned.
A lot, and it has a lot of antibodies. So colostrum is really important, and I'm going to touch on colostrum a little bit later. But I mean, they there was this picture of a mom, and I'm gonna show it to you right now. But basically, this is a picture of a mom. All right, she has twins. Okay, one was breastfed, okay, and one was bottle fed, okay. And of course, this was back, I'm not sure what, but this was this was before formula was even more developed than it is now. But you can see one child is very malnourished and the other child is well malnourished. Yes. Okay, so
there's a big difference.
Yeah, so there's definitely a big difference. I mean, of course, you don't see this now, but you can't say that formula feeding is to the point where you don't need to breastfeed anymore, and that's not the case. And there's a lot of childhood obesity now. There's a lot of childhood allergies, a lot of food allergies, a lot of eczema, asthma. It has grown since then. So there's a lot of things that we need to take into concern. So I'm glad that you do. I mean, that's why it's important,
And I think earlier you were asking me if it was a cultural thing or. I was breastfed. It was actually, I know my mom also breastfed all of us. Or 4. So she breastfed all of us. So she also encourages us to breastfeed as well. Myself, and I have a sister as well that breastfed.
Yeah. As well. So it's almost like you pass it down.
Exactly. So she passed that down to us, and also interestingly, my husband also encouraged us to breastfeed a lot.
And that's awesome.
So yes, so sometimes he encourages me more because I'm like, oh, okay, maybe it's almost nice. Like, no, you're almost there, just almost 2.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's like 2 is like the magic number. And just like your husband, I'm very adamant, and I'm a big proponent of breastfeeding. Now, my wife, my first son, he was 3 months premature. Okay. And so he was in the NICU for about a month or whatever. But that was a time that I thought that breastfeeding was very essential. And it is very essential during that time. When the baby's that premature, breast milk is so important because there's a lot of things that are not developed. The gut is not developed. There's so many things that can happen during prematurity. You can have bleeding in the brain. You can have basically a gangrenous gut. Okay. And you know what the cure for basically it's a dying gut from low blood flow. You know what the cure for that is? Breast milk. Specifically colostrum. You don't give antibiotics. You don't go to surgery. You give colostrum to avoid all of that, and people don't understand that.
That's like the first. Would you say like an immunization?
Girl, you read my mind.
Oh, really?
Exactly, it is. That's what it is. You're immunizing your kid. You know what I'm saying? And the best way that I can explain it is, for example, if we go to Mars right now, okay? We go to Mars right now. We don't know what's out there. We're not immune to anything out there. This is our first time we're being exposed to the air, microbes, and everything like that. Of course, we're going to have some allergic reactions. You know what I'm saying? Yes. It's the same thing with a baby. A baby is now being exposed to another world that they've never been part of. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. The grass, the mold, everything in the air, the cats, the dander, the dust. They're getting exposed to all of that. You know what I'm saying? But you know how they get by all of that? From the mom. The mom has basically a library of antibodies that they have been exposed to that's been passed down over generations. You're in Nigeria, exposed to the dirt down there. Why can Nigerians drink the water, but when I go down there, I can't drink the water? You know what I'm saying?
Don't drink.
There's just certain things that you guys are just getting. So basically, you're immune to the grass, the mold, the trees. Okay, you're immune to a lot of diseases that you've been exposed to over the years. You know what I'm saying? That you have immunoglobulins to. Yes. You pass those immunoglobulins through the breast milk to the baby, and you feed those because the baby doesn't have their immunoglobulins are still kind of immature, and they kind of go away after 6 months, and that's where the breast milk kind of takes over. Yeah. And you want to continue to give these immunoglobulins so it almost gets saved in the baby's library. But to do that, it has to be over time. You can't just stop breastfeeding And it has to be over 2 years. And the best example I can give you is, we all know about allergy shots, right?
Yes.
Anybody that's had allergy shots, you know that you need to take allergy shots for at least 3 to 5 years to be effective. If you only take it for 1 year, it doesn't work. You know, it takes time. It's like you're basically sensitizing the immune system, getting the immune system ready for that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, but it takes time, and slowly you'll notice that your allergies are getting better. The symptoms kind of go away, and then after 3 to 5 years, they're gone. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with breastfeeding. They're like allergy shots. You know, you take it over time, 2 years, 3 years. Asthma gone, eczema gone, no food allergies to nuts and
that's probably
all this
why
other
I don't
stuff.
have an allergy right now.
Yeah, exactly.
So whenever they ask me that question, I'm like, none that I know.
Were you breastfed?
Yes.
But you know how long you were breastfed?
I asked my mom. I think she said maybe a year.
A year?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I was breastfed that long. I got allergies. You know what I'm saying? But I'm drinking colostrum right now, from raw colostrum from cow's milk. So that, and it's been actually getting better or whatnot. But I mean, these are good things that I think are necessary for people to know.
Yes.
Now, you know what I'm saying? This is what I'll talk about, the backlash against breastfeeding. I feel like, especially now, it's become more and more prominent. Now, Mom,
is it so much backlash, or is just people being, I don't know, I would say maybe just some women are just being a little, I don't want to say selfish, because that would not be nice, because everyone, it all depends on everyone's personal preference.
Exactly.
So I'm not sure there's so much backlash. I just think some women just don't want to breastfeed.
I think it's you have different aspects. You got some from the women, you got some from the men, and then you got some from the institutions. And so basically, so for example, you talk to my wife. My wife talked to her at church, all right? And she basically said that I guess one of the elders was talking to her like, wow, you're feeding your kid till 15 months. Oh, what does your husband think about that? Oh my God, he's too big. You gotta wean him off. You know what I'm saying? He's huge. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, I mean, how would she know? You know what I'm saying? I was just saying that it's just kind of intrusive. Like, who's the one to say that he should stop breastfeeding? You know what I'm saying? If he's not ready to stop breastfeeding, let him breastfeed. And my son has been drinking 95% breast milk. I'm talking about mostly breast milk. So they think we're starving our child. The doc thinks are starving our child. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's thinking not getting, he's starving. Trust me, my kid does not look emaciated. He's in the 95th percentile. He's fat. He actually needs to lose some weight. You know what I'm saying? So the breast milk is pretty much giving him everything he needs so far. Of course, we do supplement iron, vitamin D, and other things like that. But he's getting pretty much everything he needs. You know what I'm saying? And there's other things that so you basically told her that no, she should breastfeed. She don't stop breastfeeding, continue breastfeeding. It's good. You told her all the benefits of breastfeeding, and that's why I had to bring her on, you know what I'm saying, for this and everything like that. So let me talk about more like the backlash against breastfeeding. So basically, let me tell you about an article that came out back in February. Basically, the Daily Mail reported that a male from Minnesota, my wife is from Minnesota. Anyway, she might not like this, but basically threatened his wife with a loaded shotgun while she was breastfeeding their baby because he wasn't getting enough attention. Okay, this was just recently. This was in February. Okay, so this guy is crazy anyway. He has a lot of priors, but it's just kind of I mean, that's something. Not all stories are like this, but there's a lot of men that feel left out. You know what I'm saying? They're not really crazy about the whole breastfeeding thing because they're not getting enough attention from their wife. You know what I'm saying? And it just kind of takes up a lot of time. And, it's just hard to get into, it's just kind of, I don't have to explain to you, but it kind of interrupts certain activities. Okay. And that's one reason why. If you let it, right. If you let it. So that's one thing. And then also Dr. Phil, if you guys pay attention, tune in to a show that he's going to have this Monday.
Oh, okay.
Basically, man claims girlfriend continues to breastfeed their 7-month-old for attention. So he thinks that the wife is breastfeeding until attention, and that she should stop at 8 months, but she doesn't want to stop. But he wants it to stop.
Wow.
So that's a show that you guys need to tune into. And this basically, this is a good example of men just feeling left out. And this is one of the things why men are not feeling crazy about the whole breastfeeding thing. So just imagine just feeding until 2 years of age. You know, it's harder these days to try to even do that. You know, these are some of the reasons what gets in the way. Other things that prevent breastfeeding is, you know, the institutional stuff. I mean, luckily for you, you have a job that is accommodating to your breastfeeding needs and whatnot. But not every place has lactating, you know, like breastfeeding rooms. You know what I'm saying? Not every place is going to let you take breaks to you know, pump and do all that stuff. So all these things kind of get in the way. And even just going anywhere, going to the store, going to, you know, you want to, you know, you have the covers to breastfeed your kid and everything like that. But people feel offended by it. People feel like, no, you should not breastfeed your kids in public.
Oh, wow.
You know what I'm saying? They think, oh, this is, it's disgusting. It's like, I mean, come on, am I really disgust? I mean, I understand, but if your child is covered, I mean, you know, these kids this age, they eat 3 to, you know, like 2 to 3 hours, you know, every hour.
You know, sometimes lesser,
Yeah, it's not, you know, their arguments, oh, feed them at home, feed them when you go out. No, if you're out for more than 3 hours, they're going to want to eat again.
Oh, yes.
It's just how it is, you know what I'm saying? So how are you going to, it's just difficult. And there's all these YouTube, or not YouTube videos, but also Facebook videos about, you know, like people getting accosted on the train for breastfeeding their kid. There was one woman who was really, I mean, I don't even know if it was like a prank or it was real, but she was really getting, you know, accosted by a guy telling, you know, that she shouldn't breastfeed. It's offensive. She needs to go somewhere else. This is, you know,
that is wrong.
While there was a girl, you know, pretty girl on the other side, you know what I'm saying, showing her cleavage, but apparently that wasn't bothering him. She was showing more cleavage than the one that was breastfeeding. So that's another thing that kind of gets in the way. And then there's women that don't really care to breastfeed. You know, these are the working women who are trying to rise above and, you know, basically climb the whole, you know, the corporate ladder. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, I had no problems with that. But there's women who are able to, you know, balance their jobs and the care of their children. There's women who don't want their breasts to sag. Okay.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
I've heard that.
And that's also another thing that, you know, women have issues with. Of course, I have, you know, comments about that too. Breastfeeding is considered, some people think breastfeeding past a certain age is child abuse. Some people think it's child porn. I mean, we've been breastfeeding for years, y'all. I mean, this is not something that's been new. You know what I'm saying? This has been doing, just because it's new to you, doesn't because it's new to everybody else. Like, everybody's been living for the last 2,000 years. And then, you know, also, what else? Careers, obtrusive to the sex life. So basically, it's just, that's why I feel like there's a backlash of breast. It's just so much pressure. You would think that breastfeeding would be kind of, you know,
people would want to breastfeed.
Exactly. Or people
children.
Like, you know, oh no, go ahead and breastfeed. Oh, it's important. But I don't feel that. I feel like people, you know, even my wife gets comments from certain people, friends, like, oh, you still breastfeeding? What? Or are you still, oh, you need to wean that off? Or like, it's like the other, she's getting the other, you know, the other end. So I don't know. What do you think about the whole breast sagging thing?
Well, as long as you have a good brush. So yeah, I mean, definitely it will sag, but like I said, as long as you put yourself together very well, it shouldn't matter.
Now, the whole sagging thing, I'm not going to say that breastfeeding causes breasts to sag. However, do you know what prevents breasts from sagging?
What?
If you wean slowly. If you basically, you have to breastfeed for a longer amount of time, and you have to wean off the breast slowly, meaning you have to wean off for like a year or so.
Okay.
And it's kind of, I mean, so that means you have to breastfeed for at least 2 to 3 years if that's the case. So the way it works is, you know how somebody is big and they lose a lot of weight and they have all this, excess skin. It's the same idea. If you lose the weight too fast, then you're gonna have the excess skin. Right. So basically, you want to be able to kind of slowly wean, wean the child off. You know what I'm saying? And basically, so that's basically adding solids to his, to his diet and breastfeeding at the same time. And this could take over a year or more. Who's gonna do that? I mean, obviously, maybe you would or some other, but most people are not going to do that. And what's going to happen is once the lactation goes down, that demand for milk goes down, and the breasts go, and they just kind of struggle because they have that it's that excess skin. I mean, you've been developing engorged breasts over 9 months, and you just stop it like that, and then it goes away.
I mean, that makes perfect sense.
So it takes time. But of course, there's things that you need to take. There's like, you want to take a lot of vitamin C for collagen, for the, there's, and saturated fats is very important to keep, the breasts, together. And people are there's a whole thing about saturated. You shouldn't eat saturated fats. Palm oil is a saturated fat, which is good.
Oh, I eat that a lot.
Coconut oil and a lot of eggs. Asians eat a lot of eggs, and basically, they basically avoid having those sagging breasts. So just something to think about, and I just wanted to kind of throw that to you so about that.
I appreciate that because. I mean, I don't know. But with the eggs, though, how some people say that, for your cholesterol.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, they just said last year that dietary cholesterol does not affect your blood cholesterol. So you can just kind of throw that out the window. You can eat as many eggs as you want, and it's fine. So you don't even have to worry about that. Eggs are actually good for you. It's good for your brain. It has a lot of B vitamins, vitamin B12. It's good for the baby. It's good all around. So eggs are definitely good for you. Okay.
So, I mean, I do eat eggs, but like I said, I get worried about the cholesterol part.
Right.
So sometimes I will eat boiled eggs. So if I eat two, I'll eat one without the yolk.
Okay. Don't throw away the yolk. Oh, no. That's the good part. That's where everything is in there.
That's where the cholesterol
No, that's where all the good stuff is at.
I'm trying to make sure I don't have high cholesterol. I guess that's...
No, definitely you definitely want to eat all the yolk. That's cool. But so finally, I mean, let's talk about the benefits, the benefits of breastfeeding. We talked about the history of it, the backlash, why you do it. Let's talk about like all those specific benefits of why we breastfeed. Now, like I told you, my son was in the ICU for he was there for a month. Okay. My wife was talking to one of the nurses, and the nurse told her a story of a mother who had a very sick child, premature, very sick child. For some reason, she had some medical condition that she could not breastfeed. So what she did was she saw another mother that, had plenty of breast milk saved up in the milk. So she helped herself to some. She stole it. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, she fed it to her baby. And lo and behold, the baby started getting better.
Wow.
The baby started improving, and basically everything, people were wondering like, what happened? But the nurses started to find out that she was still in the breast milk. So of course he had to stop. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what happened after that. I don't know if there was some other place where, but
I mean, there are people selling it.
Yeah.
It's literally on Craigslist.
No, you can get breast milk. You know what I'm saying? It just goes to show that, breast milk is important. People don't realize how important it is. Athletes use breast milk. They say the breast milk is more important, is more, I guess, shows more results than steroids because of the growth factors in there, like grow bigger muscles. So athletes buy breast milk on the market. You know what I'm saying? Hey, they do it. You know what I'm saying? So the athletes know what's going on. How come some of these other people don't know what's going on? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, we talked about the colostrum, very important immune factors, helps the gut, you know what I'm saying? Helps you, but it boosts the immune system too, you know what I'm saying? So with, autoimmune diseases, void to self, it basically protects you from getting all these like the flu and all these like, RSV, all these little childhood diseases. The diseases that they get during childhood, chickenpox, measles, mumps, is going to basically help with all of that. Okay. Now I already told you about the allergy shots. Higher IQ. Breast milk it's not a urban legend, it's not a myth. It does increase IQ. Okay. And basically,
my mom tells me that every time.
Exactly. Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff in there's all oils and fats, and fat is important for the brain. DHA, vitamin, all that stuff is in breast milk or whatnot. And and the longer you take breast milk, guess what?
The smarter you become.
The smarter you're gonna be. And consider an investment, because guess what? They might get a scholarship and you might not have to.
And I would absolutely love that.
Right. So that extra money that you would have put on to on their tuition, you could use it for something else. You know what I'm saying? So consider it an investment.
Save up for the wedding.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, and then also there's something called epigenetics. Epigenetics is basically because before we thought that genetics controls our whole life. You have something, you have something. There's that you can't do anything about that. But it's not simply true. There's something called epigenetics where you control how your genes are expressed. So basically, what you put into your body, what you do, will affect your genes in a way that. So if you have the gene for diabetes, depending on what you eat and what you do, you can stop the gene from coming out, or the gene might come out. It just depends on what you do. Okay. So basically with breast milk, the breast milk affects the genes in a good way, where you're expressing all the good things to come out and not the bad things. So breast milk is good. You know what I'm saying? So we all know that.
I agree.
Now, about the mother. Breast milk's not just good for the baby, it's also good for the mother. I don't know if you know this or whatnot, but breast milk basically it prevents the mother from. It decreases the chances of ovarian cancer. It decreases the chances of breast cancer. It also decreases the chance of osteoporosis. You know what I'm saying? So it decreases all of that, and also again, I don't know if you get this. My wife gets it. She gets a sense of euphoria or calmness when she breastfeeds.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Because I think that's just the time that you're like, whew, okay.
Yeah, you just
now everything else is in hold, and let me why I breastfeed.
Right.
You're just more at peace because all you're doing is just
I think it releases oxytocin. They call it the love hormone, but I think it releases oxytocin. It probably releases some endorphins. Serotonin and all this stuff, and it makes you more relaxed. And I think
it does make you relax.
I think people who breastfeed have a less incidence of postpartum depression too. You know what I'm saying? I've met people with postpartum depression, and I think breastfeeding does help with that.
Does help.
Yeah, and there is research to show that it does combat postpartum depression. So man, there's so much stuff we can keep on going on and on and on all day long, but I think come on, let me meet one of her daughters. With the Afro puff. Let me show you one of her breastfed kids.
Without her hair like
Gabriella,
that.
come over here.
Come on, mama.
Come here. Let's see your Afro puffs. High five, high five, high five, high five. This is a breastfed, healthy kid right over here.
Extra healthy.
Extra healthy. Got her Afro puffs. Getting ready for Easter. Yes. So basically, breastfeeding is very fundamental. And it's really important for the kids' health and for the kids' intelligence and just being able to thrive, in today's society. So just, take this and let it dwell and, breastfeed your kids, not just for 6 months, not just for a year, but at least 18 months to 2 years just to get the advantage. You're pretty much giving your kids more advantage than everybody else in the world. Yes. So just think about that. All right.
I agree. And I mean, breastfeeding, it also works out well, especially with having kids. There's things that you can put in place that the older ones will be able to help you with.
Exactly.
And, so I think it works out well as long as the family is very supportive.
Yeah.
it will make it a smooth. Yeah, the only part, of course, that makes it maybe not as easy is if you're working.
Right.
As a parent, with pumping and having, because every morning I go to work, I have like 3 bags. And not the days I work from home. That's like a 4th bag because I have to bring my laptop home.
Exactly.
So, but besides that, I think it's very smooth. The main thing is support.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you have people that are supporting you, it's awesome.
I think it's awesome.
It's very encouraging too.
Yeah.
So even my kids, they know all about it. If you ask her now what does Ronelle is, she'll say breast milk. She knows it, right? And they help me sometimes get my breast pads.
See, gotta help out. Yes. And the athletes, they love breast milk. I take colostrum, just cow colostrum, because it's good, like I said, for endurance, bigger, just helps muscle growth, muscle soreness, lactate, and all that kind of stuff. So, and just full body fitness. So, but thanks for having time to talk to me about this, and thanks for talking to my wife too, because she needed to hear that.
And I mean, thanks because in all honesty, I learned more.
Yeah, I know, and I hope everybody will learn from this video and kind of change their habits and know how important breastfeeding is.
It is very important. Thanks for having me.
All right, well, thank you for tuning into Vitacine. Hopefully you learned something today. And stay tuned to our next one. Say what's up. Hello. Happy Easter.
Why should I like that?
Well, take your daily Vitacine and we'll see you later.
Bye. Okay, bye.